So welcome to Living Conversations with me, Joseph Bonner.
And me, Adelina Godinho.
Now, in advance of the upcoming local elections, this is another installation in a short series of interviews with some of the candidates, particularly those representing the parties here in the London Borough of Southwark. And joining us today is Cllr Kath Whittam. Now, Kath has been councillor in Southwark for 12 years, first for the Labour Party, then independent, and now deputy leader of the Green Party. So you're also councillor for the Rotherhithe Ward, and like all wards, you are competing for your seat again on the 7th of May. So very welcome to join us here.
Thank you very much
in
for
Bankside.
inviting me.
So also before we start the interview, just want to say Living Bankside host this series of interviews, and as an organisation we are an apolitical organisation, so we're not endorsing any candidate or any party, so just wanted to underline that point. So just a few weeks to go now before election day. How are you feeling?
It's the most difficult to call election I've ever been in, I think. I've been in ones where I'm definitely going to lose. And I've been in ones where we felt that we definitely were going to win. But I don't know anybody who can call this one at all. It's very nerve-wracking, and every vote will count.
But with all this experience that you have, hopefully that gives you something to draw on, and
absolutely.
and you feel confident. Out of 10, would you say?
Well, I think we will have done as much as we can.
Okay, very good.
So now I don't do much door knocking because I have Parkinson's disease and I get tired very easily, but I support my colleagues as much as I can, like mopping up all these sort of things like this interview.
Well, we're very pleased you can join us, but I'm sensing a quiet optimism in that answer nonetheless.
I wasn't going to stand. I decided a year or so ago that I wasn't going to stand again because of my health. But when I moved to the Greens, they were so keen for me to stand that I gave in.
You were persuaded.
I was persuaded.
Excellent.
And I'm glad I did, because I think the Greens have a lot to give. And I feel re-energised.
Great, excellent, good to hear. Well, we'll come back into some of that as an issue, but Adelina, do you want to?
Yeah, so Kath, let's learn a little bit more about you. So what brought you to London and what specifically drew you to Southwark?
Well, I came to London in 1981 when I just graduated from Bradford University with a 2-2 in chemical engineering. What I ever knew about that, I've completely forgotten. But I decided to take the first job I got offered, which was a teaching job in Barking and Dagenham. And it was a bit of a baptism of fire, shall we say, in a London teaching science to quite a lot of children at the time. The very overcrowded schools at that time. And when I met my husband, we decided, first of all, to live together, and we were looking for housing. We were more or less looking north of the river, but then we got details of a house south of the river. And when we came through the Rotherhithe tunnel, it was so bright. And, you know, there weren't these sort of clouds of fog and smog, the Dickensian East End. We came out into this bright blue and white oasis that was Rotherhithe. So we said, oh, let's look at some more properties around here. And we settled in Rotherhithe straight away.
And you've been there since?
And we've been there ever since.
Very good.
Lovely. And since you got here, what inspired you to run for government, for local government?
Well, I've always been a Labour person because my father was very much into politics. He was a local councillor and then he stood for Parliament, but never got in. But it didn't stop him making us all go around knocking on doors for him. So there's 4 children. My younger sister was 9 years younger than me. I was 12 at the time, 12 to 14. But as soon as you could knock on a door, you were out there. And so my father was the driving force. But I didn't start to be more interested in local politics because I was more interested in being a teacher, the union side of things. And I was a union rep for a long time. And we did several strikes where it was quite dicey. But I got into local government politics after I left teaching when I had my children, and obviously missed the cut and thrust of the debates, etc. So I stood as a paper candidate in Surrey Docks, I think first, when the Lib Dems were at their height. And Surrey Docks was the very last outpost of Southwark Labour ever thought they would ever win. Mm-hmm. So I stood as a paper candidate, I think it was 2000 or around about 2000. And my first one where it was all about me was 2008, when Labour councillor, Lib Dem councillor Annie Yates died. Lovely woman, really beautiful soul, but she died in 2008 and they had a by-election. And I think I was the only possible candidate for Southwark Labour at that time because it was such an outlier in Surrey Docks. But we didn't do too bad. But I knew I wasn't going to win. But then I stood again in 2010. And again, Southwark Labour hadn't really got going in the north of the borough. But then after the 2010, we spent 4 years working it. And myself, Stephanie Cryan and Bill Williams worked hard. We were their action team in the north of the borough, in Rotherhithe. And when it came to 2014, it paid off and we won. But it needed 4 years of hard graft to do it. So I'm not afraid of working hard. And then we got re-elected in 2018 and 22 because we still worked hard for our residents.
That 4 years paid off.
Yes.
And teaching does seem to be one of those professions that seems to produce a lot of politicians, either local councillors or even MPs. Do you think there's a rationale, a reason for that?
I think a lot of teachers are very keen to impart wisdom to younger people so that they will be on the right path and make our whole society a better place to live.
And I guess you're seeing also a lot of social issues firsthand.
Absolutely, yeah.
And people coming from all different walks of life and backgrounds.
Yes, and people really struggling. And I'm still a school governor now. Mm-hmm. been a school governor for 25 years. I was at my I call it my school in Albion Street on Friday. I'm the link governor for behaviour. So, but I sat in their atrium, which is brand new because it was built with the Labour initiative, which was forgotten the buzzwords for it now. Building schools for the future or something. That was it.
That was very much in the Tony Blair
era.
yeah.
Yes. But
School building and whatnot.
We raised, well, it was a series of porter cabins basically beforehand. And now they've got this beautiful new building. And I sat in the atrium, which is called the Heart Space, very buzzwordy, and watched the children walk into assembly. And they were just perfectly behaved. And when I was teaching, you didn't get quite that level of behaviour at all. But these teachers now work so hard. I couldn't do it, I'm sure.
Well, we might come back to the situation with primary schools, particularly in Southwark and central London, and the challenges they face. But and that's all to do with planning and so on as well. So we'll want to talk to you about that. But going back to when you were first elected, and the job of the councillor, was that what you expected, or what were those initial lessons that you learnt back then?
I think if you don't ask, you don't get. It's the main thing to learn. You have, the council officers are there to do what the ruling party have said is their plan. And they are there solely to make that happen. So if they're not doing that, then they're not doing their job properly.
What's, dare I ask, been your experience then as a councillor and seeing the officers, the employees of the council trying to make that plan happen?
Well, it's good and bad.
Okay.
But mostly the officers are keen to get the thing moving. But some departments just don't seem to get it.
It's not exactly a profession that's got a lot of credibility or status with a lot of the public. Not getting personal about it, but
I think some of them are totally underfunded. And there's just not enough of them. I remember one officer, who shall be nameless, but he worked so hard, and he said, I never have a lunch hour. I always go home late. I'm always here at 7 in the morning. And the poor guy, just run ragged because there just weren't enough people in his department.
So that's a funding issue then, and budgets.
It really is.
Well, we've certainly in Living Bankside experience met some fantastic officers. And perhaps we weren't well on the ones that haven't always been that way. But Adelina, over to you.
So you must have seen some of the absolute best in the borough during your time. So what are some of the moments that really stuck with you? What really struck you?
And particularly when you were mayor, I think, as well.
Well,
mayor for a year, when was that?
2016. But I remember just after I'd become mayor, I'd given up my job. My contract had come to an end with ICON, the heritage people. But they invited me to go to Oxford on a day out. They were having so I went along with them. And we went to, I think it was the Fitzwilliam Museum. And they had a copy an original copy of Vacher's Panorama of London, which is this long, thin thing with all the London Bridge in the middle with the heads on the
we've probably all
spikes.
seen it, haven't we?
Yes.
But don't know its
And I was
name.
looking at this, and there was Southwark Cathedral, and I thought, I was there a couple of weeks ago, standing in that
Yes.
place, following on from all the other people who have stood in that place. And it really sort of brings it home to you how historic Southwark is.
Particularly this part.
Yes,
we would
absolutely.
claim in Bankside, of course, with London Bridge and Southwark
Yes.
and Borough High Street and so many others.
Yes.
But yes.
Yes, but I must also say one thing that really struck me was seeing some photos of you abseiling down Bermondsey Maydew House. So can you just tell us a bit about what that was like?
That was fine. I have no problem with heights at all.
That helps.
It really does. But it was difficult to actually get in the right position to go down. But I had fun that day. It was really nice. Yeah, we got a lot of money for that as well, for my two charities. I supported the farm, Surrey Docks.
Surrey Docks. Oh yes, you know Surrey Docks.
And the National Autistic Society, because
Fantastic.
my daughter's autistic.
So happy memories and a good cause.
Yes,
Well
absolutely.
done. More serious matters now. You've sat as the Vice Chair of the Planning Committee at Southwark Council, and housing is one of the big pressing issues for residents and those wishing to be residents.
Yeah.
What is it you think is getting in the way of providing genuinely affordable housing here in Southwark?
Well, I think it's the way it's all funded. You know, you're relying on developers to be magnanimous, which, you know, they're not renowned for, shall we say. But
It's not what they're in the business for, really.
no, that's right. But we have the whip hand, because if they don't have their planning permission, they can't build anything. But because Sadiq has seen fit to say it doesn't have to be 35%, you can get away with 20%.
Of affordable homes.
Yes. It sort of cuts your feet from under you, and they sort of hang on and say, oh well, we'll go to appeal with the GLA, and get them to call it in, and we'll build less affordable housing. And really, you've got nothing to counter that with. So, I mean, I believe I have never voted for anything less than 35%. And I'm proud of that, because when Biscuit Factory came up, they didn't want to build any affordable housing. So we said, well, you aren't getting your planning permission. So they went to Sadiq, and they have set the precedent, really, that, you know, if you hang on long enough, you can build what you like, and nobody will say anything different. So I think that's really sad. But when you look at what Southwark Labour have built, they have built 2,500 new flats, which is more than anywhere else in the country. Now, how have we done that? We've used every little tiny bit of land that we could. Old car parks, old garages, you know, bits of brownfield site, adding on to existing buildings.
And existing council-owned
Yes, absolutely.
sites.
And if we could carry on doing that, we could hit targets, but we haven't got the cash to make that happen. And without that, you can't do anything. But the problem is, all those people who can't get housed then go into temporary accommodation, which is costing an absolute
Yes,
fortune.
yes, yes. And that's coming from the same budget, presumably. Housing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you could take that money, build the houses, you're then getting rental income from those. Everybody get moved into the right size housing. So you wouldn't have all this overcrowding. You wouldn't have quite so much mould and damp because you've got too many people in a small flat. It's not beyond the wit of man to solve these things.
Yeah. It sounds like you've got a plan.
Well, that's what I would
yes.
put forward to the Greens.
Yes.
I mean, the Greens have said that they're not in favour of infill because it takes away the green space. But you don't have to take away green space. You take away the old garages and pram sheds and car parks.
Fewer cars
Exactly.
being owned by residents. And infill you referenced?
Yeah, infill on council estates. So occasionally a piece of underused green space in a council estate.
Okay.
It's not being used for anything else.
Yeah.
It's not a football field or anything. It's just there.
Well, you can certainly see in some other parts of London where very small spaces can be built on and actually done very well.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what's underneath the ground as well in cases.
Yeah.
Now, you're with the Southwark Green Party, and the party is committed to demand that property developers build at least 35% genuinely affordable homes on all new developments. How can that actually be achieved? What needs to be done? You mentioned the mayor's role.
Yes. I think central government could put in a lot of, they talk about money's there to build housing. Well, give it to us. Let us build it. It's not rocket science.
Yes. Just do it.
Yes, absolutely.
As Nike would say. Now, this is your first time running as a Green candidate after decades, as we said at the beginning, of representing the Labour Party and your independent period as well. And we understand you were a card-carrying Labour member for over 40 years prior to your defection last November. Do you want to talk us through why you resigned from being chair of the Labour Southwark Party and leaving the party generally?
Well, I don't know how well known this is. And
it was your chance to give your side of the story.
Well, being the chair of Southwark Labour, myself and the Chief Whip organised the election of the next Labour leader after Kieran Williams, who had stepped down sort of mid-term. And we did everything right. They were perfect elections. Being mid-term, the standing orders could be slightly different to a known AGM date. We had two people who wanted to have a proxy. One was going on holiday. She was a single mum.
And a proxy just so that they could be represented and have their vote counted, even if they weren't present.
But the person who was voting for them knew how they wanted their vote to be cast. So one of them was a young lady who is a single mother who had arranged a holiday with her daughters, and it was already booked, paid for, and she would have lost a lot of money had she not gone. And the second one, has a long-term illness and didn't feel she could say that she was definitely going to be there. So we allowed these two proxies. We talked about it at the exec and we told the membership that's what we were going to do. Nobody said a word.
Because it's a fairly standard protocol as such.
Yeah, I mean, you do it every day in Whitehall.
Yes.
So I got the London region to come and actually do the count,
That's the party.
the party.
Yeah.
And we all turned up, apart from the 2 proxies. There were 50 of us, and the 2 proxies. The London region brought the ballot boxes with them. They showed us the empty ballot boxes, and they gave out 52 bits of paper. 52 bits of paper were counted, and a leader was declared.
Which was James McCash.
James McCash. It was a very close vote, but it was a clear vote. We all went home. Next morning, I wake up to missed calls on my phone, and there was Neil Coyle declaring that the election was null and void.
And for our listeners who don't know who Neil Coyle is, he's the local MP, Labour candidate, Labour MP.
Labour MP, who showed no interest at all in the machinations of the vote and the whole thing. So a week later, we had an online vote, which was unwitnessed. There are mechanisms to witness an online vote, which were discarded. And suddenly, London region declared somebody else the winner. Now, I consider myself to be a Democrat. And that, to me, was not democratic. So I couldn't square that with my conscience. So I stepped down. I just left the Labour Party because it completely undermined democracy in my view. And this is only my view, and it's my experience. So I started being an independent, and they were all very nice to me and all very sweet as pie. But then I got a call from the secretary of the Green Party, said, would I like to have a chat? So I said, might as well get free lunch.
Very good. And I think Adelina is going to take up that question with you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know what drew you to the Green Party.
Well, in some ways, a very young party. Young in the sense of not bogged down by history. You know, their members' meetings take forever because everybody has to have their say.
It's very democratic.
It's over democratic sometimes, I think. You know, nobody will make a decision because not everybody's spoken yet.
Yeah, I've been in meetings like that. And they can suddenly 3 hours can whiz by, and everyone's still very happy being there.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're all so enthusiastic, and it was so refreshing. And you know, if you don't have the same view as everybody else, that's okay. We can talk about it, but you don't get ostracized or told, you know, you got to stick to the party line. You know, I'm a waspy woman. The way they've just dropped waspy women as soon as they got elected.
The Labour Party.
Labour Party.
Yes.
That's just disgraceful.
And you want to just explain that issue to people who may not be familiar with it?
Well, when I started working in Barking and Dagenham in 1981, it was my understanding the time that I would be working for would be till I was 60. And it was always the case until about 5 years before I was 60. And then they said, no, you've got to work till you're 66. That's not my, not the contract I signed.
Yes. Yes.
Not what I signed up for.
And those 6 years are quite sigsignificant when you're at that stage in life.
Yeah,
as I'm discovering, as I get closer to it.
Well, I've reached 66 now, and started getting my state pension. So it was another reason why I thought I could possibly retire from local politics this time. But you know, you just think you put your faith in the government to look after you. And you've done your bit, you've been working all that time, and then suddenly they say, oh, carry on. We've changed the rules. Then I've got my daughter, who is 28 years old. She's on PIP.
The personal independence payment, yes.
Yes, because she's autistic. She has a small job. She works 4 hours a day. And she enjoys her job, but that's as much as she can manage. And without getting overwhelmed. You know, she lives with us and always probably will do until we shuffle off this mortal coil. But, you know, they're just talking about stripping people's PIP away. And, you know, it's just, we're relatively well off, so we can manage these things. But
it's a big national issue.
It really is, and people are left in the lurch by this Labour government. And I don't believe the Greens would do that.
So I think you've got another question on
a
Green
bit
Party.
more on the Green Party. So with your defection, you became the Greens' first councillor in Southwark for 16 years. But since then, there have been 5 other defections. So why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, the ones that defected shortly after I did were a lot to do with the leadership election. But others just fed up with Labour. And, you know, the way that you're not important as a Labour person. You know, unless you stick to the rules, unless you stick to the line. You know, if you don't, then people put pressure on you. People, you know, ostracise you. It's not the Labour Party I joined.
Yeah. And also, there was a statement which you released when you joined the Green Party, and you described it as united and moving in the same direction. But some people argue that this track record of the Greens in the office seems a bit divided. So the Green administration in Mid-Suffolk, for example, have thus far opposed both housing developments and pylons to bring renewable energy across the North Sea in their constituency. Whilst the national message from Zach Pelansky seems to be that we need to build more social housing. So if you're successful next month, what kind of Greens can Southwark expect?
Ones that talk a lot and that are transparent. You know, we're not hiding away and then coming out with a pat statement that we're all sticking to and nobody's going to change. We want to hear what people want in Southwark. We went to Southwark Park's Friends of group hustings, and they are very against using the park for music events and things like that, and the Bermondsey Carnival, things like that. Not the carnival itself, but the paid music events either side of it. But without that cash from those paid events, less can be done in the park. So we want to hear from the local population what is more important. And we will genuinely consult people and try and give them what they want, rather than discussing it between ourselves, saying this is what you want, when nobody's actually said what they want. So I just think it will be a completely different vibe. It won't be politics done to you. You will be consulted how you want the politics to be done.
Mhm. And just a bit more on this and the vision for the borough. So there are a few members of the Green that are standing in for the very first time. Would you say that they all share in your vision of the borough?
I think we've got a lot of good ideas, and I think we will thrash them all out. And it will take time. It will take a lot of meetings and a lot of people contributing. But that's what politics is all about. You need to get people to agree before you do anything. Because if you say, this is what we're going to do, whether you like it or not, you don't take people with you. You've got to take people with you. You've got to be honest with them. If we do this, then we can't do that. And then people have an informed choice. And we will do what the majority of people prefer, what they think is most palatable. Because they're our residents, they are living here. They have to put up with whatever we're doing. So, you know, we have to be as transparent as possible. And if that makes us seem like we don't know what we're doing, it's not the case. We can give people a choice of what they want without us forcing things on them.
Yeah. And just to bring back the Labour government a bit, your manifesto warns of potential spending cuts from the Labour government that would also affect services that the council provides. And the Southwark Green Party manifesto commits you to do everything you can do to bring council tax down to some of the lowest in London. How would that work in practice in terms of ensuring cuts in council tax don't affect the services that they provide?
Well, we want people who've got the broadest shoulders to pay the most. And those who haven't got broad shoulders, who haven't got reserves and are struggling, then we want to maintain the council tax reduction scheme and maybe expand it to those who really are on their uppers and can't afford it, and find some way of getting the people with the broadest shoulders to fork out some money, because they're using the same services, but you know, they can afford it.
Yeah.
Going back to now your time on the planning committee and development and housing and so forth, which are big issues here in Bankside and right across the
Yeah.
borough, of course, and NCIL, the Neighbourhood Community Infrastructure Levy, which has been going for several years and has done enormous benefit and good here in Southwark and Bankside by ensuring that 25% of the planning charge of any new development is handed directly over to the community, to the community groups and so on by local ward councillors to improve the immediate local area. Is this something you want to see continuing, that you would commit to as a Green Party, particularly with just thinking of near you, your constituency, Canada Water, and all the developments that will be taking place there in the next few years.
I mean, we had 1.4 million to spend, which was tremendous, and we shoveled it out to Time and Talents and to the London Bubble, and we are revamping Albion Channel. All these good things are, not possible without that injection of cash. So I would be very much in favour, and I would argue with the Green Party that that's what we should be doing. And I think in general that's a good thing. And lots of people put in their ideas to the ward councillors as to what that money should be spent on. And we spent every penny. We're good at spending that sort of cash. And, I'm sure that that will continue but, with the changes in planning law coming, might be less likely that happens. But if we can accrue that money, then we'll certainly spend it.
Good. That's good to hear that commitment. Now, your party believes in a different kind of politics, I think, as you were telling us, and you want to see a change of culture here in the council as well, and how it respects and represents residents, and how you conduct meaningful consultations and genuinely listen to people, as you've said. How do you actually go about doing that in practice? How would that look? What would that look like? What difference would it happen in the way that the council, either at elected level or official level, officers, how would that happen?
Well, there's a whole raft of people in Cllr Street who are there just to do consultations.
Particularly in development and housing and planning, we're thinking.
I'm sure we can come up with a way that it is more meaningful than it is at the moment. Because a lot of people come to planning committee and say, well, they haven't done any consultation. And the developer reels off a whole load of things that they've done. And like 2 people came to a drop-in session. Yes. There must be a better way to do it. Obviously, must be at least some more advertising of the consultation. I think sometimes the consultation periods are not long enough because people miss the deadlines just because they've only just heard about it, and they're told to go and look at the plans. Well, have you ever looked at...
It's tricky. And if you're not au fait with... Yes, with plans and architectural understanding and urban realm and all these phrases.
Exactly.
So we at Living Bankside have a lot of experience of that, and it's a big issue, and it's a time-consuming activity.
I think it would be good to educate the residents as to what these things mean.
Well, that's how our organisation, Living Bankside, started 30 years ago as Bankside Residents Forum, specifically to look at the planning applications and assess them and consult and engage. And thankfully we had funding from the council to employ a person to do that job, to coordinate, because it's very much a full-time role almost for someone, but very important, particularly in an area like ours, which has a lot of development. I mean, just outside us, we have one development just finished, and the plant is in next door, digging up the foundations for something else. So it's a continuous experience for people living on just the one street alone.
Yes. So, I'm sure we can come up with some ideas and get residents to come up with ideas.
Well, we at Living Bankside would be very happy to help with that conversation. And
well, that's exactly the sort, we're not just 50 odd people or 63 people sitting in an ivory tower in Cllr Street, dispensing our wisdom. We want everybody contribute, then we can get a more cohesive society. It's not pitching one set of residents against another.
And in some of the other interviews we've conducted in this series, we've actually talked about potentially bringing people back and having a roundtable discussion on housing and planning and development, and see what could be done across the parties, and an apolitical stance from our side as well, to actually look at things. And vision plans and master plans, as they're called, is that something that you would suggest for a neighbourhood?
I think it's vital. I mean, the Canada Water Master Plan was done over God knows how many years, must be 3 or 4 years. And everything is in there, you know, education, healthcare, policing, retail, leisure, residential, business. You know, it was all planned out. I don't know if you know about the S73.
I don't, so do tell us.
Well, I mean, British Land have built phase 1. They're not committing to build phase 2 unless we reduce the number of affordable housing and we let them build higher and more residential for them to sell. This went to the GLA. I went there. Stephanie Cryan and Bethan Roberts, who were my colleagues, also went. Southwark Law Centre went. 35% campaign went. We all spoke against this, and it just gets waged through.
Down to 20%.
Oh,
or
20% only if he gives them 50 million or 55 million, I think it might be.
Right.
If he gave us 55 million, we'd build a lot more than
Well,
that.
going back to your point earlier about council actually having the money and having the site to do it.
Yes.
So you would obviously support that approach and in partnership with residents and community groups.
Everybody contributed and said we must have, you know, some open space in there. So there was a park. We all wanted a police hub in there. So the police are very resistant to doing that because they absolutely strap for cash as well. So, you know, and I've been sitting on the bag, which is the I can't remember what it stands for now, but it's to do with getting people, not just bringing in luxury brands and in the retail, but have like
family-owned businesses or small independents.
And you know, market stalls and a whole range, so people can all have a stake in the area. Business Advisory Group.
There you are. I knew it was an acronym for something.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Well, I think you've got a few questions to wrap up, Adelina.
So, as we're wrapping up, it would be really nice to know what is motivating your politics. So why is it that you're running, Councillor?
Why am I running? I just feel that it is time for a change. The Labour Party is no longer a party of working people and looking after the weakest, and now it's the devil take the hindmost. The Green Party are just more friendly, and I've been welcomed with open arms. I've never felt as included, even though I'm not been able to do much campaigning on the doorstep. My colleagues, and we've had so many people coming knocking with us. You know, on our big day out, we had about 25 people, which was incredible, really. It used to be one man and his dog.
Well, I'm guessing they're benefiting from your great experience.
Well, I hope so.
Planning and housing and all these other areas, as well as just the many years you've done
Yeah.
in the council.
I've tried to put forward my ideas. I have other ideas about energy, about district heating, which I think is just an appalling thing.
I think that's another topic that we'll have to come back to
Yeah.
as well. And I think AI, we haven't talked about it all
Yeah.
yet, but that's very
I
much
know
an
nothing.
issue of the future. But I'd love to know what the council, as a completely side issue,
Yeah.
are thinking about in terms of AI.
I don't know anything about that.
Hopefully
Don't
somebody
ask me any
Truly Towers does.
Don't ask me
Adelina,
any
sorry.
tech questions.
No.
But there have been some predictions which say that the Greens will win some to many seats in Southwark. So if you're successful on the 7th of May, what is it that you'd hope to see change in the borough 4 years from now?
Well, I think the first thing we have to get sorted is the repairs problem
In housing.
in housing. You know, the number of people who complain about the repair system, they give up. They absolutely just give up because they've had somebody around 3 times. They've never had the right parts, or they miss their appointment. You know, if a commercial firm was doing it, they'd be out of business within 5 minutes. There has to be some way of working which is not... I mean, it must be soul-destroying for the operatives as well, because they're not told the right thing to bring with them. They get it in the neck for not bringing the right thing. And yet, you know, there's nothing they could do if they're not given the right equipment. And it's...
So housing is one big issue you'd like to see.
That's number one.
Number one. Okay, good. Glad to hear
it. Divesting in all our oil and gas shares and things like that from the pension funds.
Is that because you're now a Green Party representative?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Well,
as opposed to having those sort of views before, when you were Labour, for example.
Well, I didn't really get involved in that, to be honest.
Okay, so that's one thing that's
they're
emerged.
educating me.
Yes, great. Okay, good.
You know.
Okay, good.
So, divestment in all things nasty. So our pension fund is sweetness and light. Using all our resources for more efficiently. The green capital fund needs to be spent wisely. They've done a very good job with the lights. So I think they finished changing all the lights to LED.
Okay, so this is a whole range of environmental issues.
Insulation of houses is very important. Firstly, to cut down the bills for people. And secondly, to improve the quality of the housing. And so people aren't getting asthma and becoming very ill, and some people die.
Yes, as we found that case a few years ago.
So
good. Well, that's
all those sorts of things.
That's 2 or 3 very good priorities. But hopefully, should you be returned, as a councillor for the Green Party, that
and who knows what will happen.
You'll be able to have it as a benchmark. I think that was our last question. So, Kath, thank you very much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for being so friendly.
That's what we try to do, but also to learn and to hear about your story. And you've got a fascinating story. So it's been a pleasure hearing about that. And we hopefully will see you again on the sofa another time. So for me, for now, until next time, that's been Living Conversations.